Kale's boots pounded the glowing dirt of Zorath's jungle. Neon vines pulsed with light, twisting around massive trees that hummed with strange energy. His breath came in sharp gasps, his heart thumping like a drum. Behind him, sleek drones whirred, their red eyes cutting through the misty air. "This savage is ours," a cold robotic voice echoed from one of them. Kale ducked under a branch, his rough hands scraping against bark. He was a scavenger, a human surviving on this alien planet. But now the Krill Empire wanted him caged, a net shot from the lead drone, its edges sparking with electricity. Kyle dove to the side, rolling into a ditch. The net hit a tree, sizzling as it burned the bark. He scrambled up, his patched jacket catching on thorns. "Not today," he muttered, eyes scanning for an escape. The jungle was alive, its sounds deafening, chirps, hisses, and the drone's hum closing in. Kale was fast, but the Krill were faster. Their tech was beyond anything he'd seen, and their hatred for humans was clear. They called his kind savages, unfit for their perfect world. He sprinted toward a clearing, hoping to lose them in the open. Bad move. A drone swooped low, firing a second net. This one caught him, wrapping tight around his arms and legs. Kale hit the ground hard, dirt in his mouth. He struggled, but the net's shock stung his skin, making his muscles twitch. The drones circled above, their lights blinding. A tall Krill soldier stepped forward, his silver armor gleaming. His face, sharp and scaled, twisted in disgust. "Another savage for the cells," he said, his voice like ice. Kale glared, his green eyes fierce. "I'm no savage," he spat, but the soldier ignored him. They dragged him to a hovering ship, its engines glowing blue. The jungle faded as the ship rose, carrying Kale toward the Krill's floating prison, a massive fortress in the sky, all sharp angles and cold metal. He'd heard stories about it. Humans went in, but they didn't come out. Inside the prison, the air was heavy, smelling of oil and fear. The Krill shoved Kyle into a cell, its walls smooth and glowing faintly. The door sealed with a hiss, locking him in. He paced, his boots echoing. The cell was small with no windows, just a hard bench and a dim light. Kyle ran a hand through his messy brown hair, thinking. He'd survived Zorath's jungles for years, wild beasts, poison plants, and worse. He wasn't giving up now, hours passed. Kyle sat, fists clenched, when a soft hum came from the hall. He stood, ready for a fight. The door slid open, and a figure stepped in. She wasn't like the other Krill. Her skin shimmered like gold and her eyes glowed with a warm light. She wore a flowing robe, its edges sparkling like stars. Kyle froze. She was beautiful, but her presence felt heavy, like she carried a secret. "Who are you?" he asked, voice low. She tilted her head, studying him. "I am Zara," she said, her voice smooth but firm. "And you are the human they call savage." Her words weren't cruel, just curious. Kale bristled. "I'm Kale, not savage." Zara's lips curved slightly, almost a smile. She stepped closer, and Kyle noticed the guards outside tense. They didn't like her being here. "Why do you care?" Kale asked, eyeing her. Zara didn't answer right away. She glanced at the guards, then back at him. "You're different," she said softly. "Stronger than they think." Kyle frowned. What did that mean? Before he could ask, a guard banged on the door. "Enough, my queen," he barked. Kyle's eyes widened. "Queen?" This was the Krill Queen. Zara turned, her voice sharp. "Don't touch him," she said, glaring at the guard. The soldier backed off, surprised. Kale watched, confused. Why was the Queen of the Krill defending him? The guard muttered something and left, but Zara stayed. She leaned closer, her voice a whisper. "They want you dead, Kyle, but I won't let them." Kyle's mind raced. The Krill hated humans. They hunted them, locked them away, or worse. Yet here was their queen, risking trouble to protect him. "Why?" he asked again, his voice rough. Zara's eyes locked onto his, intense and unreadable. "Because you might save us all," she said. Footsteps echoed outside, loud and fast. Zara stepped back as the door hissed open again. Two guards stormed in, their weapons raised. "Step away, my queen," one growled. "This savage is dangerous." Zara didn't move. She stood between Kale and the guards, her hands clenched. "I said don't touch him," she repeated, her voice like steel. The guards hesitated, their scaled faces twitching. Kyle's heart pounded. He didn't understand Zara, but he saw the fire in her eyes. She was fighting for him, a human she barely knew. The guards backed off, but one whispered into a device on his wrist. Kyle caught the words council and traitor. Trouble was coming. Zara turned to Kale, her expression urgent. "Listen to me," she whispered. "You're not like the others. There's something about you, something they fear." She paused, glancing at the door. The footsteps grew louder, and a new voice called out, cold and commanding. "Queen Zara, step away from the prisoner." Kyle tensed, ready to fight, but Zara's hand touched his arm, stopping him. Her touch was warm, steady. "Trust me," she said, so quiet he almost missed it. The door glowed, about to open. Kyle's pulse raced. Who was coming? Why did Zara think he was special? And what did the Krill fear about a human like him? The door slid open, revealing a tall Krill in black armor, his eyes burning with hate. "Queen or not," he said, "you can't protect this savage forever." Zara faced him fearless. Kyle stood behind her, fists ready as the tension filled the cell like a storm about to break. The prison cell was dark, lit only by the faint glow of its walls. Kale stood tense, his green eyes locked on the open door where the Krill in black armor had just left. The air buzzed with danger. Zara, the Krill Queen, stood close, her golden skin shimmering under the dim light. Her words echoed in Kale's mind. "You're not like the others." What did she mean? His heart raced, his rough hands clenched. He was a human scavenger, a savage to the Krill Empire, but this queen was risking everything for him. A soft hum broke the silence. Zara moved fast, her robe swishing as she pressed a hidden panel on the wall. A small screen flickered to life, showing glowing symbols Kyle couldn't read. "We don't have much time," she whispered, her voice low but urgent. Outside, boots clanged on the metal floor, getting closer. Kyle stepped forward, his voice rough. "Why are you helping me?" "I'm just a human." Zara's glowing eyes met his. "Not just a human," she said. "You're strong, Kale. Stronger than they know." She glanced at the door, nervous. "The Krill Council wants you dead. They're building a weapon, a star killer. It can destroy planets, but you might stop it." Kale's jaw tightened. "A weapon, and him stop it. He was a scavenger, not a hero." "Why me?" he asked, stepping closer. Zara hesitated, her fingers pausing on the screen. "Your kind, humans. You survive where others fail. The Krill fear that." Before Kale could ask more, a loud beep came from the screen. Zara's face hardened. "They're coming. We need to move." She typed fast, and the cell door hissed, locking tight. Kyle raised an eyebrow. "You're trapping us?" "No," Zara said, her voice steady. "I'm getting you out." She pulled a small device from her robe, a silver disc that hummed softly. She pressed it to the floor, and a hidden hatch slid open, revealing a narrow tunnel. "Go," she said, pushing Kyle toward it. He hesitated, staring into the dark. "You trust me?" Zara asked, her eyes intense. Kale didn't, not fully, but the sound of boots outside left him no choice. He nodded and dropped into the tunnel. The passage was tight, its walls cold and slick. Kyle crawled, Zara close behind. The air smelled of metal and dust. Above, alarms blared, sharp and piercing. "Faster," Zara whispered. Kyle's knees scraped the floor, his mind racing. A queen helping a human? It didn't add up. The Krill hated his kind, locked them in cages or worse. Yet Zara was here, risking her crown. He glanced back. Her face was set, determined, but her eyes held a flicker of fear. The tunnel ended at a grate. Kyle pushed it open, revealing a dark hallway lined with glowing pipes. They climbed out, crouching low. The prison's hum filled the air, mixed with distant shouts. "This way," Zara said, leading him through the maze of corridors. Her robe caught the light, making her look like a ghost. Kyle followed, his boots quiet on the smooth floor. He noticed her hands, steady but trembling slightly. She was scared too. They reached a heavy door, its surface carved with Krill symbols. Zara pressed her disc against it, and it slid open, revealing a storage room packed with crates and humming machines. "We're close," she said, checking the disc's glow. Kale grabbed her arm, his voice low. "Tell me the truth. Why risk everything for me?" Zara pulled away, her eyes flashing. "Because the Star Killer will kill billions. Humans, Krill, everyone. You're my only hope to stop it." Kyle stared, his mind spinning. A weapon that big? And him, a scavenger, the key. Before he could speak, a shadow moved behind a crate. Kyle spun, fists ready. A Krill guard stepped out, his armor scratched, his weapon raised. "Traitor, Queen," he hissed, glaring at Zara. "The Council will hear of this." Kyle tensed, ready to lunge, but Zara stepped forward, fearless. "You won't stop us," she said, her voice like steel. The guard laughed, cold and sharp. "You think you can save this savage?" He aimed his weapon at Kyle. Zara moved faster, shoving Kyle behind a crate as a laser bolt scorched the wall. "Stay down," she shouted, pulling a small blade from her robe. Kyle wasn't one to hide. He grabbed a metal rod from a crate and swung, knocking the guard's weapon away. The guard roared, lunging at Kyle. They grappled, Kale's human strength surprising the krill. Zara darted in, her blade flashing, and the guard fell, stunned, breathing hard. Kale looked at Zara. "Nice move," he said. She didn't smile. "He's not alone," she whispered, checking her disk. The screen flashed red, showing more guards closing in. "We need to reach the hangar," she said, pointing to a door across the room. Kale nodded, his trust in her growing just a little. They ran, dodging crates as alarms screamed louder. They reached the door, but it wouldn't open. Zara cursed, typing on her disk. Kyle glanced back, hearing boots too close. "Hurry," he urged. The door hissed, starting to slide, but a voice cut through the noise. "Stop them," it shouted. Kyle turned, seeing a new guard, bigger, with a weapon that hummed with deadly energy. Zara froze, her eyes wide. "Vark," she whispered, fear in her voice. The guard smirked, raising his weapon. "The Queen betrays us," he said, his voice booming. "And the savage dies tonight." Kale gripped the rod, heart pounding. Zara stepped in front of him, her blade ready. "You'll have to kill me first," she said, her voice shaking but strong. The door was half open, freedom so close, but Vark's weapon glowed brighter. Kale's mind raced. Who was Vark? Why did Zara fear him? And could they escape before the guards closed in? Kale's boots sank into the glowing mud of Zorath's jungle. Laser bolts screamed past, scorching neon vines that curled like snakes. He ran, heart pounding, as Zara sprinted beside him, her golden skin glinting under the alien moonlight. "Run, savage, or we both die," she yelled, her voice sharp over the drone's hum. The krill prison was behind them, its floating towers fading in the mist, but the hunters were close. Kyle ducked a bolt, his patched jacket snagging on thorns. Freedom was near, but danger was nearer. The jungle was alive, pulsing with light and sound. Trees hummed, their branches swaying without wind. Kale knew this place, its traps, its teeth. He'd survived Zorath's wilds for years, scavenging scraps while dodging beasts. But the krill were different. Their sleek drones zipped through the air, red eyes locking onto him and Zara. "Keep moving," Kyle shouted, grabbing Zara's arm as she stumbled over a glowing root. Her robe tore, but she didn't slow. They'd escaped the prison's storage room just in time. Vark, the cruel krill guard, had fired, his weapon's glow lighting up the dark. Zara's blade had knocked him back, giving them a chance to slip through the half-open door. Now the jungle was their only hope. Kale's eyes scanned the shadows, spotting a narrow path between spiked plants. "This way," he said, pulling Zara. She followed, her breath fast, her glowing eyes wide with fear and focus. A drone swooped low, its laser grazing Kyle's shoulder. He hissed, pain burning, but kept running. "You okay?" Zara asked, her voice tight. Kyle nodded, gritting his teeth. "I've had worse." He wasn't lying. Human toughness had kept him alive on Zorath, and he wasn't stopping now. The path twisted, leading to a river of glowing water. Kyle stopped, scanning the current. "Too fast to swim," he muttered. Zara pointed to a fallen log bridging the river. "There," she said. Kyle went first, balancing on the slick log. The water below hissed, steam rising where it touched the bank. Zara followed, her steps careful. Halfway across, a drone's light locked onto them. "Move!" Kyle shouted, leaping to the other side. Zara jumped, but a vine snagged her foot. She fell, crying out as a spiked plant snapped at her leg. Kale dove back, grabbing her arm. The plant's teeth grazed his hand, drawing blood, but he pulled Zara free. "Got you," he said, his voice rough but steady. They collapsed on the bank, breathing hard. Zara's leg bled, her robe stained. "You saved me," she whispered, her eyes meeting his. Kale shrugged, wiping his hand. "You saved me first." For a moment they stared, the jungle's hum filling the silence. Kyle didn't trust her fully, but she'd risked everything to free him. That meant something. "We can't stay," Zara said, standing. She winced, her leg shaky. "The Star Killer." "It's worse than I said." Kyle frowned, helping her up. Worse how? Zara's face darkened. It's not just planets. It can wipe out stars, whole systems. And it's almost ready. Kale's stomach twisted. A weapon that big? He was a scavenger, not a soldier. Why me? He asked again, his voice low. Zara leaned closer, her voice a whisper. Humans, your kind. You fight when others quit. The Krill Council fears that. They think you're weak, but I've seen your strength. Kyle's jaw tightened. Her words hit hard, stirring something in him. Pride, maybe. But doubts lingered. What's in it for you? He asked. Zara looked away, her eyes distant. I want to save my people. And yours. A drone's hum cut her off. Kale pulled her behind a tree, its bark pulsing with light. The drone hovered, scanning, then moved on. We need cover, Kyle said, spotting a cave in a rocky hill. They ran, ducking under vines that glowed like fire. The cave was dark, its air cool and damp. Kyle checked the entrance, his hand on a jagged rock. Safe for now, he said, turning to Zara. She sat, clutching her leg. The Starkiller's plans are in a Krill outpost, she said. We need them to stop it. Kyle crouched, his green eyes sharp. And you think I can help? Zara nodded. For your strength, your will. It's what they don't expect. Kyle didn't know if he believed her, but her words lit a fire in him. Humans were tough. He'd prove it. A low hum echoed outside. Kyle froze, peering out. Red lights flickered through the jungle. Drones closer than before. Zara stood, her blade ready. They're tracking us, she said, her voice tense. Kale's mind raced. How? They'd escaped clean. Or had they? He checked his jacket, then Zara's robe. Nothing. But the hum grew louder, the lights brighter. Kyle grabbed Zara's arm, pulling her deeper into the cave. Stay quiet, he whispered. The cave's walls glowed faintly, casting shadows. They crouched behind a rock, hearts pounding. The drone's lights swept the entrance, their hum like a swarm of angry bees. Kale gripped the rock, ready to fight. Zara's hand touched his, steadying him. We'll make it, she whispered. The light stopped, locking onto the cave's mouth. A drone's voice crackled cold and clear. Targets located. Kyle's blood ran cold. Zara's eyes widened, her blade glinting. The drones were coming. How had they found them so fast? Was there a traitor? Or something worse? The cave was dark, its glowing walls casting eerie shadows. Kale crouched behind a jagged rock, his heart pounding like a drum. Zara knelt beside him, her golden skin dim in the faint light, her blade clutched tight. Outside, red drone lights swept the entrance, their hum loud and menacing. Targets located, a drone's cold voice crackled. Kale's green eyes narrowed, his rough hand gripping a rock. How had the Krill found them so fast? Zara's face was tense, her glowing eyes wide with fear. Suddenly, a shadow moved in the cave's depths. Kyle spun, raising the rock, ready to fight. A figure stepped forward, cloaked in a tattered robe, his scaled hands raised. Quiet, savage, or you'll ruin everything. He hissed. Kyle froze, his muscles taut. Zara gasped, her blade lowering. Torm? She whispered, her voice a mix of shock and relief. The figure nodded, his yellow eyes glinting under his hood. Yes, my queen. Follow me. Kale didn't move. Who's this? He demanded, his voice low. Zara touched his arm, her hand steady. Torm's a friend. A Krill scientist. He's with us. Torm's eyes flicked to Kyle, studying him. This is the human? He asked, his voice sharp but curious. Zara nodded. He's the one. Kyle's jaw tightened. The one for what? He didn't trust this Torm. But the drones outside left no choice. Fine, he said, lowering the rock. But I'm watching you. Torm led them deeper into the cave, through a tunnel that smelled of damp stone and metal. The drone's hum faded, but Kale's senses stayed sharp. The tunnel opened into a hidden chamber, lit by glowing crystals. Strange machines hummed along the walls, their screens flashing Krill symbols. Torm stopped, pulling back his hood. His scaled face was scarred, his eyes tired. We're safe here, he said. For now. Zara sat, her injured leg stiff. Kyle stayed standing, his eyes on Torm. Explain, he said, his voice rough. Torm glanced at Zara, who nodded. The Starkiller, Torm began, his voice low. It's powered by human energy, your kind. You have a strength the Krill can't match. They capture humans, drain them to fuel the weapon. Kyle's stomach twisted. Drain them? He asked, his fists clenching. Torm nodded. It kills them. But you, Kale, you're different, stronger. The Council fears you. Kyle's mind raced. Humans as batteries? And him special? He glanced at Zara, her eyes steady but worried. Why didn't you tell me? He asked her. She looked away. I didn't want to scare you, she said softly. We need you to stop it, Kyle snorted, his anger rising. I'm a scavenger, not a savior. But deep down her words stirred something, pride maybe. Humans were tough. He'd prove it. Torm tapped a screen, pulling up a map. The Starkiller's plans are in an outpost not far, he said. We steal them, we can find its weakness. Kyle studied the map, his scavenger instincts kicking in. Guarded? He asked. Torm nodded. Heavily. But with your skills, human, we might make it. Kyle raised an eyebrow. My skills? Torm's lips twitched, almost a smile. You survived, Zorath. That's not nothing. Zara stood, wincing. We go tonight, she said. Before the Council finds us. Kyle didn't like it. Too fast, too risky. But the drone's hum echoed faintly, reminding him of the danger. All right, he said. What's the plan? Torm outlined a path through the jungle to the outpost, a small base hidden in a valley. Kyle listened, memorizing the route. His years scavenging had taught him to think fast, move smart. As they prepared, Torm pulled Zara aside, his voice low. Kyle caught only pieces. Tie one of your advisors, a spy. Zara's face paled, but she nodded. Kyle's gut tightened. A spy? Who? He didn't trust Torm fully, and now this. He stepped closer, pretending to check a crate, his ears sharp. Zara's voice was a whisper. I'll handle it, she said. Torm shook his head. Be careful, my queen. They moved out, slipping into the jungle's neon glow. The air was thick, buzzing with insects. Kyle led, his eyes scanning for traps. Zara followed, her blade ready, while Torm limped behind, clutching a small device. The outpost wasn't far, but every step felt heavy, like eyes were watching. Kyle's hand brushed a vine, and it snapped back, glowing red. Careful, he warned, pulling Zara away. She nodded, her trust in him clear. The jungle thinned, revealing the outpost, a squat building of sleek metal, its lights cutting through the mist. Kyle crouched, studying the guards. 2 krill patrolled, their weapons humming. We sneak in, he whispered. Torm nodded, handing Kyle a small disc. Disables locks, he said. Kyle took it, his fingers brushing the cold metal. It felt too easy. They crept closer, but a twig snapped under Torm's foot. A guard turned, his eyes narrowing. Kyle held his breath, pulling Zara down. The guard scanned, then moved on. Kyle exhaled, but unease lingered. Something was off. They reached the outpost side door, and Kyle used the disc. The lock clicked open. Too quiet, he muttered. Inside, the outpost hummed with energy. Zara led them to a control room, but Kyle stopped. A faint beep came from a hall. He turned, heart racing, and saw a figure in the shadows. Zara, he whispered, pointing. She froze, her blade up. The figure stepped forward, a krill in dark robes, his voice cold. My queen, he said, you shouldn't be here. Zara's eyes widened. Vex, she gasped. Kyle gripped the disc, his pulse spiking. Vex, the advisor? Torm's warning echoed in his mind. The figure smiled, raising a communicator. The council knows, Vex said. You and your savage are done. The beep grew louder and red lights flashed. Kyle's blood ran cold. A trap? Kyle's heart pounded as he crept through the krill outpost's dark hallway, the cold metal walls humming with energy. His boots were silent, his green eyes sharp in the dim light. Zara's voice crackled through a small comm in his ear. One mistake and we're dead, she whispered, her tone sharp with worry. Kyle gripped the silver disc Torm had given him, its faint glow warm in his hand. Behind him, Zara and Torm followed, their shadows flickering. The outpost was a maze of glowing pipes and locked doors, but the Starkiller's blueprint was close. They just had to steal it before Vex, the traitor advisor, ruined everything. The air was thick, smelling of oil and electricity. Kyle's scavenger instincts kept him alert. Every hum, every shadow could be a trap. Vex's words still burned in his mind. The council knows. How had he found them? Kyle glanced at Zara, her golden skin pale under her torn robe. She held her blade, her glowing eyes scanning the hall. Torm limped behind, his scarred face tense, clutching a device that blinked with krill symbols. Kyle didn't fully trust Torm, but Zara did, and that was enough for now. They reached a heavy door, its surface etched with sharp angles. Kyle pressed the disc against it, and it hissed open, revealing a control room. Screens glowed, showing maps and data. "There," Torm whispered, pointing to a central console. "The blueprint's in there." Kyle nodded, moving forward. His years scavenging Zorath's jungles had taught him to think fast, find weaknesses. He studied the console, spotting a slot for the disk. "This better work," he muttered, sliding it in. The console lit up, but a low growl stopped Kale cold. From the shadows, a massive krill war beast emerged, its body like a spiked tank, eyes red and burning. Zara gasped. "Stay back," she hissed, raising her blade. Kale's mind raced. The beast was huge, its claws scraping the floor. "I've got this," he said, grabbing a loose pipe from the wall. He didn't know if he could take it, but humans were stubborn. He'd try. Kyle darted forward, swinging the pipe at the beast's leg. It roared, swiping at him. He ducked, the claw missing by inches. "Zara, get the blueprint," he shouted. She hesitated, then ran to the console, her fingers flying over the controls. Torm limped to help, his device syncing with the system. The beast lunged at Kale, its jaws snapping. He rolled, slamming the pipe into its side. The beast staggered, but only for a moment. Kale's heart raced. He was tough, but this thing was a monster. Zara's voice cut through the noise. "Got it," she yelled, holding a glowing data chip. Kale grinned, dodging another swipe. "Time to go," he said, backing toward the door. But the beast charged, blocking their path. Kale's mind worked fast. He spotted a sparking cable on the wall, ripped it free, and jammed it into the beast's side. Sparks flew and the beast howled, collapsing in a heap. Kyle panted, his hands shaking. "Nice trick," Zara said, her eyes wide with respect. They ran for the door, but an alarm blared, red lights flashing. "So they know we're here," Torm said, his voice grim. Kyle cursed, leading them through the maze of halls. His scavenger skills kicked in. Spotting a vent, he pried it open. "In here," he said, helping Zara climb in. Torm followed, wincing as his injured leg caught. The vent was tight, but it led to the outpost's edge. Kale could hear boots stomping outside, krill guards shouting. They dropped into a storage bay, crates stacked high. A small ship sat in the corner, its hull scratched but intact. "That's our way out," Zara said, her voice firm. Kyle nodded, checking the ship's controls. He'd flown junkers before. Human grit made anything work. But as they climbed in, Torm stumbled, blood seeping from his leg. "I'm fine," he growled, but his face was pale. Kale didn't buy it. Torm was slowing them down. Zara started the ship, its engines humming. Kyle strapped in, his eyes on the bay doors. "Open them," he told Torm, who tapped his device. The doors groaned, but before they fully opened, a figure appeared. Vex, his dark robes billowing, a weapon in hand. "You thought you'd escape," he sneered, his voice cold. Zara froze, her hands on the controls. "Vex," she whispered, fear in her eyes. Kale's blood boiled. Vex had betrayed them, called the council. "Get us out!" Kyle shouted. Zara snapped into action, the ship lurching forward. Vex fired, a laser bolt scorching the hull. Kale leaned out, throwing a crate at Vex. It hit, knocking him back. The ship cleared the doors, soaring into Zorath's neon sky. Kyle exhaled, but Torm coughed, blood on his lips. "He's hurt bad," Kyle said, checking Torm's wound. Zara's face was grim. "We'll fix him," she said, but her voice shook. Kyle looked at her, his trust growing. She'd fought for him, risked everything. "What now?" he asked. Zara held up the data chip. "This has the Starkiller's plans. We find its weakness." Kyle nodded, but a beep from the console made him tense. A red light flashed, tracking signal. "They're following us," he said, his voice hard. Before Zara could respond, a voice echoed from the shadows of the ship. "You can't run forever, my queen." Kyle spun, heart racing. Vex stood at the back, his weapon glowing. How had he gotten on board? Zara's blade was out, but Vex laughed. "You're not going anywhere, savage," he said, aiming at Kyle. The ship shook, alarms screaming. Were they already caught? The stolen krill ship shook, its engines roaring as it soared through Zorath's neon sky. Kyle gripped the seat, his heart racing, as Vex's weapon hummed with deadly energy. The traitor advisor stood at the ship's rear, his dark robes swirling, his scaled face twisted in a sneer. "You can't run forever, my queen," Vex said, his voice cold. Zara stepped in front of Kale, her blade raised, her golden eyes blazing. "If you want him, you'll have to kill me first," she shouted, her voice fierce but trembling. Kyle's mind spun. How had Vex gotten on board? The outpost heist had been chaos, fighting the war beast, stealing the Starkiller's blueprint, but Vex must have slipped in during the escape. Alarms blared, red lights flashing on the ship's console. Torm slumped in a seat, blood dripping from his wounded leg, his face pale. "Zara, fly!" Kyle yelled, lunging toward Vex. He wasn't letting this traitor win. Vex fired a laser bolt, scorching the wall. Kale ducked, grabbing a metal tool from the floor. Zara spun, her blade flashing, and slashed at Vex's arm. He hissed, dropping the weapon, but kicked Zara back. She hit a crate, gasping. Kyle swung the tool, smashing Vex's shoulder. The krill staggered, his eyes burning with hate. "You savage!" Vex spat, pulling a second blade. Kyle dodged, his human reflexes sharp, and tackled Vex, pinning him to the floor. Mira, Kale's lost friend, crouched nearby, her voice urgent. "It's a trap, Kale. They wanted you here." His heart pounded, his mind racing. The Council had planned this? Vex's words echoed. The Council knows everything. The core's hum grew deafening, the floor trembling. Torm lay still, his yellow eyes closed, his sacrifice heavy in the air. Kale's hand burned, but he didn't let go. He was human, stubborn, tough. He'd finish this. Guards charged, lasers blazing. Zara moved like lightning, her blade slashing through armor. "Keep going, Kale!" she shouted, blocking a bolt aimed at him. Kyle gritted his teeth, his energy draining into the core. The crystal's cracks spread, light bursting from within. Mira grabbed a fallen guard's weapon, firing at the krill. "We're with you," she yelled, her human fire matching Kale's. More prisoners, humans caged for the core, broke free, inspired by Zara's defiance. They fought, fists and stolen weapons against krill steel. Kale's vision blurred, his strength fading. The core was overloading, just as Torm had said. But Mira's warning gnawed at him. "A trap? How?" He scanned the chamber, spotting a shadow at the far end. Vex. The traitor advisor stepped forward, his dark robe swirling, a new weapon glowing in his hand. "You're too late, savage," Vex sneered, aiming at the core. "The Council wins." Zara lunged, her blade meeting Vex's. Sparks flew as they fought, her royal strength against his betrayal. Kale pushed harder on the sensor, his body shaking. "Almost there," he growled, the core's light blinding now. Mira fired, keeping guards back, but more poured in. The prisoners fought bravely, their human spirit unbroken. Kale felt pride swell. He wasn't alone. Humans were fighting back. Torm stirred, his voice a faint rasp. "The core. Overload it." Now, Kyle looked at him, shocked. Torm was alive. The scientist dragged himself to a console, his hands trembling as he typed. "I'll finish it," Torm said, blood dripping. Kale nodded, trusting him. He pressed both hands on the sensor, his energy surging. The core screamed, cracks exploding across its surface. Vex kicked Zara back, his weapon aimed at Kyle. "You die, savage!" he shouted. Zara scrambled up, tackling Vex, her blade at his throat. "Not today," she hissed. The core's hum hit a fever pitch, the chamber shaking like it would collapse. Torm typed faster, his face pale. "It's done," he yelled, slamming a button. The core flashed, a wave of energy bursting out. Guards fell stunned as the machines sparked and died. Kyle pulled his hand free, collapsing. The core was dark, its light gone. "Did it work?" he gasped. Zara helped him up, her face fierce but relieved. "It's dead," she said, holding the data chip. "The Starkiller's gone." Torm slumped, his breath stopping. Kale's heart sank. Torm had given everything. Mira grabbed Kyle's arm, tears in her eyes. "We're free," she whispered, nodding to the prisoners. But Vex laughed, struggling under Zara's blade. "You think this ends it?" he spat. "The Council has more." Kyle's blood ran cold. "More?" Before he could ask, the chamber shook again, walls cracking. "We need to go," Mira shouted. Kale helped Zara drag Vex, tying him with cables. The prisoners ran, following Kale through the collapsing halls. Zara led the way, her royal voice rallying them. "To the ships," she yelled. They reached a hangar, krill ships gleaming. Kale picked one, his scavenger skills kicking in. He hotwired the controls, the engine roaring to life. Zara and Mira helped the prisoners board, Vex locked in the back. The facility groaned, chunks of metal falling. Kyle pushed the thrusters, the ship soaring out as the Starkiller base exploded in a burst of light. The moon trembled below, dust rising like a storm. The ship broke free, stars filling the view. Kyle exhaled, his body aching but alive. Zara sat beside him, her hand brushing his. "You did it," she said, her voice soft. Kyle shook his head. "We did it," Mira smiled, helping the prisoners settle. They were free, but Vex's words lingered. More, what did the council have? Zara set a course for a distant planet, her eyes determined. "We'll free more humans," she said. "The Krill won't win." Kale nodded, feeling the weight of it. He was a scavenger, but maybe he was more. Humans were tough, unbreakable. The HFY spirit burned in him now. As the ship hummed, a faint beep came from the console. Kyle frowned, checking the screen. A signal, distant but moving closer. A ship watching them. "Zara," he said, his voice low. "We've got company." Her eyes widened, scanning the stars. Vex's laugh echoed from the back, cold and sharp. "You'll never escape," he said. "Who was out there? And what did they want?"